Summons. Versus Mark. Ready? Go!
I'm like, okay, it seems like there will be some form of reconciliation. Something is about to take place. Something is about to happen, and it materialized in our in our life, where the person was encountered by God and they returned back to the fold. So this is a reality. Right. So again, and even in addition to that, even that story, and there are more, but there's another story as well where a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, right, a brilliant guy, right, was an atheist, never believed in God, was again going against the Lord on social media.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year is Master Duel 3rd anniversary, and they have dropped some of the best content. And what I mean by this is that the 3rd anniversary have been insane. We got brand new Beansmith support, we got brand new Exodia support, and this year is the year of Sky Strikers, and it's also the year of Elemental Hero Neos. Goddamn! And with this comes with awesome events that Konami has dropped on Master Duel for you to actually farm gems. And guys, they have created a new event, Legend Anthology. This event will feature exclusive regulation for cards and archetypes used by the legendary duels such as Dark Magician, Blue Eyes White Dragon, and Red Eyes Black Dragon. Some cards will be unavailable for the sake of the game's balance. And if you guys look at the Forbidden Limitless, if you guys are tired of like the way Master Duel is right now, well, take a look at this event. Most of these cards are completely banned. You guys are seeing these cards like Skill Drain, absolutely banned. All these like annoying cards, like, you know, Ash Blossom is banned, Maxi is banned in this event. All these like modern cards are banned in this event. What this event is designed to do is to actually encourage you to actually play anime-based decks and anime-based strategies. You can receive up to 3,100 gems. Ladies and gentlemen, come on, free gems. And on top of that, if you don't have gems to craft decks, they have already made 3 loner decks for you to even play for absolutely free. You can play a loner deck, which is Exodia. You can literally play Exodia. It's like a very botched version of Exodia. But remember, if your deck is botched, that means your opponent's deck is botched too. You feel what I'm saying? You can also play Volcanics. If you're feeling spicy and want to be Axel, you can play Volcanics. I don't know who plays Trickstars in the anime, but you guys can also play Trickstars as well. And what you guys are about to see is gonna be my stream highlights of when Chad and I both on the same deck together to try and take down this entire Legend Anthology. All these like annoying.
Say the rich would rather pick up a penny from the ground than let it go to the poor. It's September 2022. Chess.com's Titled Tuesday is underway, and Magnus Carlsen is competing ruthlessly for $200. But what's worse, after knight c3 and what appears to be a normal classical Caro-Kann, he whips out the disgusting move a6. Ladies and gentlemen, this is nasty. This move does nothing except toy with his opponent Da Silva, who, given the financial situation of most titled chess players, is probably in desperate need of that $200 prize. He plays knight f3, a principled move, because after bishop g4, the best way to punish your opponent's terrible development is correct development. And then swiftly opening up the center, e takes d5. But Magnus Carlsen, well, Magnus Carlsen will play a bad move. You will try to punish him, he will feel disrespected, and then he will beat you senselessly. That's the level of narcissism.
Recipes that take 15 minutes with a few ingredients, episode 2. Let's make Thai red curry pasta. This one, it's only 6 ingredients. And the recipe is actually really simple. I start by cooking my pasta. As that's happening, in a pan heat up oil. I'm using olive oil. Once heated, add in 3 to 4 cloves of garlic, 2 tablespoons of Thai red curry paste, half a cup of cream. Let that thicken up a bit over medium heat before adding in salt, Italian seasoning, and grated Parmesan. Add in the cooked pasta. Optionally, you can add in some parsley, mix it all up, and now it's time to enjoy. Save this and follow for more. Recipes that take 15 minutes with a few ingredients, episode 2. Let's make Thai red curry pasta. This one, it's only 6 ingredients. And the recipe is actually really simple. I start by cooking my pasta. As
With with the melodies. Sound like Drake when he act tough.
I mean,
How silly would it be for someone to come to you and say, you know, I just don't understand why you're a Coca-Cola. And you'd be going, what? Why I'm a Coca-Cola? That doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. But yet if somebody says you're unlovable, we somehow believe it rather than go, sounds like Coca-Cola to me. And so I use the Coca-Cola technique to detach myself from that nonsense, because it's nonsense. It's not the truth. Thank you for joining me. This is a video about 20 insults you commonly hear in a narcissistic family, from very subtle ones to very extreme ones. Have you ever been told you're just too sensitive? You're just so selfish. If so, you're not alone. If you heard something like this from a parent, you know the pain it causes. Now, other families besides narcissists can use these as well. In narcissistic families, insults aren't just words. They're strategic weapons designed to make you feel small, dependent, and powerless. I'm Jerry Wise, and for over 45 years, I've helped people to break free from toxic family dynamics. My mission is to help you discover the self you were never allowed to have. A strong, confident, and independent you. And together we build a life free from control, manipulation, and emotional pain. Let's break down the types of insults you often hear in narcissistic families, from most subtle to the most extreme, why they're so destructive, and how you can begin to protect yourself. Most common insults you hear in narcissistic families. Number 1, subtle insults. They seem harmless but undermine you over time. For example, 1, you're just too sensitive. This insults your emotional responses by implying that you're weak, making you feel ashamed for expressing yourself. Number 2, oh, you're just overreacting. It belittles your emotions by suggesting you're irrational, you're emotionally unregulated, and leading you to suppress your own feelings, but in an unhealthy way. There may be a healthy time to suppress your feelings, but not in this unhealthy way they're suggesting. Number 3, stop being so emotional. This insults your emotional expression by labeling it excessive, making you feel like your feelings are invalid or crazy. Number 4, I was just joking. Don't be so dramatic. It disguises criticism as humor, making you feel like you're overreacting and can't take a joke. Number 5, you're imagining things. This insults your perception by implying you're delusional, causing you to doubt your own reality. And that's one of those gaslighting insults. You're just imagining things. A second category of insults is guilt and shame-based insults. Firstly, everything's always about you, isn't it? It accuses you of being selfish, making you feel guilty, and guilty of just having needs. Number 2, after all I've done for you, this is how you repay me? This insults your gratitude by implying you're unappreciative and making you feel obligated to comply, and that you still owe them from years past. Number 3, you'll regret this when I'm gone. It manipulates you through guilt, making you afraid to make independent choices. In other words, just remember you're going to feel really, really guilty, but do what you want. And of course, we don't want to feel guilty after they're gone. But typically, I have also told people who are clients and people I've worked with, if they're using this type of technique and you fear you will feel guilty after they're gone, then come and see me. I'll help you with that. And I'll help you get over that. Don't live under the fear of that. That can be resolved. Number 4, I sacrificed everything for you. This insults your independence by implying you are a burden or making you feel unworthy and that you haven't sacrificed for anything in your life, only they have. Number 5, why can't you be like your brother, your sibling, your cousin, aunt, your nephew, why can't you be more like them? It insults your uniqueness by comparing you negatively, leading to feelings of inadequacy. You're worse than your father, or your sister's worse than you. It's whenever you use those comparison insults, they are insulting and do challenge us feeling adequate. A third category is direct character attacks, destroying and affecting self-worth. For example, number 1, you're such a disappointment. This insults your ability by labeling you as a failure and making you, or often we feel, worthless. The reason why I have a hard time with making you, because later I tell you how some of those feelings we're choosing because of the family programming. It's not because they're making you do it, but it's the normal programming that we do it. But either way, we often feel worthless because of those kinds of insults. And also it leaves open, well then, how would I not be a disappointment? Usually it means by complying, by doing what I want, by believing what I believe, by being me. You would not be a disappointment. Oh, that's not very helpful for a self. Number 2, you're just like your father. You're just like your sister. It insults your individuality by comparing you to someone they dislike, making you feel flawed. And again, they will use, well, you're just like somebody who acts negatively. And it's like, well, I'm not them. They're not me. Even if we do act alike in some ways, I'm still not them and they're still not me. But if I can blend those together, I might be able to insult you and cause some lower self-esteem and lower self-worth. Number 3, you always ruin everything. You can't just get along. You always have to bring these things up. You always make something that is not fun, and this insults your competence by blaming you for problems and making you feel like the constant failure and the constant problem maker. And I never like using always, never, those kinds of words, even in marriage counseling or even in when we talk about, you always ruin everything. Did I ruin yesterday as well as the day before and the day before that? Always ruin everything? Because it's an overstatement meant to insult or to demean someone. And then fourthly, of course, we have, well, you're so selfish. You're just so selfish. It attacks your character by implying you don't care about others, making you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. If you go, well, this is what I would like to do. Oh, that's selfish language to use I, because you should be using we or what I think we should do. So you can't have a boundary, you can't have an opinion, you can't be unique or autonomous without being selfish, because you're just all stuck on yourself. And of course, that's a very distorted view of selfishness. And the ultimate selfishness is to try to control someone else's selfhood while affirming your own and making it dominant, like a narcissistic parent might. That's the ultimate selfishness. Number 5, no one cares about your opinion. And this insults your intelligence by dismissing your thoughts, making you feel invisible and unimportant. No one cares about your opinion. And especially on this, you don't even go to the same church we go to, or the same mosque, or whatever religious organization. So no one cares about your opinion. Well, who's an expert on everything? I'd like to meet them sometime. And I can have opinions on things I'm not a part of. But no one cares about your opinion, and that is to make you feel small, weak, demeaned, and, just shut up is really the message. What's the next category of insults? Extreme insults, attacking your core identity and self-worth. First of all, number 1, you're lucky we even put up with you. It insults your value by implying you've been a burden or making you feel unwanted. You're lucky we even put up with you. Number 2, no one else would put up with you. this insults your worth by isolating you and making you feel unlovable and dependent, because no one would put up with you. So you need to be really, really grateful that we had you and you have us as parents. Thirdly, you're impossible to love. It insults your core self by suggesting you're fundamentally unworthy of love, causing deep emotional pain. And again, we do it with kind of words like, you're stupid. We label your whole being with this insult. You're stupid. And that's very, very damaging for a child. And then we have to do the work of self-differentiation later on in life to get that out of us, because it's not a true part of us. It is a forced into us part of us, or a borrowed part of us that we have borrowed from the toxic, dysfunctional family we grew up in. But it's not the true us. And I remember having a difficulty coming to that conclusion, even to believe that, because I remember when I was pastoring, I just felt I was very codependent and just wanted everybody to be happy and everybody to be happy with me and, well, good luck. And there was a family who was pretty critical of me about many things. And I'm going, I'm just Jerry. I mean, I've never done anything bad to you. Don't want to. I have always tried to treat you with respect and things like that, because those are my values. But they were, Jerry doesn't like us. Jerry thinks he's better than us. And it all was projection on their part. They had both, husband and wife had grown up with physically abusive fathers. Well, I was a pastor. Well, who's the father figure in the church? Now I became their father. For no reason. I had never abused them, but I got the unresolved issues coming my way. And I think that feeling bad and self-doubt that, are they right? Am I really bad? Am I really treating them bad? And I kept days and days going over that, trying to sort that out. I even talked to associate pastors, and I talked to, different people. Am I treating them this way, and I'm trying to get them to say, no. But I hadn't decided for myself whether that was true or not. And so I remember the night I sat down and went, either they're wrong or I'm wrong. And I have to make a decision. And it was one of the biggest breakthroughs I had. Because, I said, well, does that mean you don't have any doubts? Or maybe I'm not perfect. I don't do everything right. But I still had a sense of, that's not me, though. What they're saying isn't me. And that began to turn the tide on this whole mess that I was dealing with. And I began to learn to do some self-differentiation work where I could pick the right time to talk about the things that I was over talking about and should have held close to my vest, but to bring them out at the right time. But I was talking about them because I was being reactive. And when I stopped being reactive and calmed down, then I didn't have to blab everything I knew to everybody, which made it look like, well, is Jerry trying to convince me that he hasn't done this? And so it turned out actually well, but it was not fun. And so we have number 4, you'll never be good enough, is another insult. This insults your self-esteem by making success feel impossible, leaving you feeling inadequate. Number 5, you're worthless. I think I've mentioned that one. It directly attacks your entire sense of self, leading to the feelings of hopelessness and despair, because you are nothing. You are worthless. You mean nothing. You're not lovable. Just an attack of insults and shame, which should blot out your being and blot out your personhood. And there's worse ones than that. And, parents can swear and do all kinds of things and degrade you physically, body shaming, all kinds of other insults that can come to make you comply and to make you feel controllable for them. So, why do these insults do more than hurt your feelings? Because they have shaped and reshaped our identity, eroding our self-worth, leaving you dependent on their approval. Now I spend the rest of my life trying to convince them I'm not worthless. and that I am worthy and that I am lovable. And so I have to spend the rest of my life doing that. Now, that's a very exhausting thing to do. Often you have to do it a while until you're ready to give it up. But that's hard to give it up, because if I give it up, then I cannot have the fantasy or the dream of having the parent I always wanted, who actually cares about me, who actually loves me, who actually supports me. So if I give up the belief in what they're saying, then it kind of throws into stark contrast. This isn't going to happen, and you're not going to have the parent who will parent you in a loving, mature, nurturing, caring, adult way. If we're both adults, the parent and us, it's not going to happen. And many of us don't want to give up that fantasy. I certainly did not. I thought, well, let's just keep trying. If we just keep trying, something might happen. Well, you can try all that you would like. You have my permission to do that. And then when you're ready, you can take a look at a way in which you could self-differentiate and become free, and then have a different or newer relationship with that parent. Some choose no relationship. Some choose a more limited relationship. And every parent is different. So not every parent, even every narcissistic parent, is different. And there are some things when we start to let go of the apron strings, the umbilical cords, emotional with parents, it can affect the relationship for the positive. But I don't want to hold out a whole lot of hope. It's troubling. Now, over time, the parents attack your sense of self and your reality with these insults. They create self-doubt. They sabotage your confidence. They keep you trapped in the family's emotional Wi-Fi and the family's toxic dynamics. And one of the things I do is help people turn off the family Wi-Fi and cut the cords with the family toxic dynamics. And by the way, I don't mean by that you never talk to your family or never with them. I'm talking about the internal process of disconnecting from the family's toxic dynamics. Self-differentiation tips to break free from narcissistic insults. Reduce your reactivity to their insults. Learn not to care and stay calm. Those are not easy things. I know they are not easy things, but even doing that poorly will give you some freedom and might give you a pathway to finding yourself. So, and anything worth doing, I've always said, is worth doing poorly, because it's still worth doing. And just like learning not to care. Maybe you can not care about this insult, but the next one you do care about. Well, the next one, don't care about it. I mean, they are them and you are you. So what that somebody thinks you're stupid? Which actually, in many ways, the offender doesn't really even believe that. It's just a way to control. But, somebody can think I'm the worst therapist, coach, pastor, whatever in the world. And I go, so what? And what's your real problem? And that's why the family that I was struggling with in church, that's what they were kind of saying, that you can't have a worse pastor than me. It's kind of like, but so many people have always said I've done such a good job. But here I am believing this negative thing because I had a lack of confidence and self-esteem. And then began to learn not to care. I don't care. If that's what they want to think, they're free to think that. I'm not going to live out the trouble of that. I'm going to shift the burden of this emotional conflict to them. You can then keep not liking me if you want. If you want to waste your time doing that, you're free to do it. But I'm not going to worry about it anymore. Use a Coca-Cola technique that I have suggested, which is when you hear somebody saying, I don't think you are not lovable for anybody to love you. What I think is they are actually describing and calling me a Coca-Cola. That's how much sense this is. How silly would it be for someone to come to you and say, I just don't understand why you're a Coca-Cola. And you'd be going, what? Why I'm a Coca-Cola? That doesn't make any sense. That's crazy. But yet if somebody says you're unlovable, we somehow believe it rather than go, sounds like Coca-Cola to me. And so I use the Coca-Cola technique to detach myself from that nonsense, because it's nonsense. It's not the truth. Also, remember, and this is something I use a lot in self-differentiation, I am not them and they are not me. They can be as crazy and nutty as they want to be about who they think I am, perfectly fine. But they're not me, and that's not what I believe about me. But they're free to believe that if they want. And if other people believe them, then other people are believing them at their own peril. And at some point, they may come to realize they were wrong. Maybe not, but many times they do come to see that, hey, oh, well, maybe their parent wasn't all that accurate about their child. Duh. Maybe not. Ask. If they never change, and they're going to continue to do this forever, for the rest of your life, how would you feel? How would you think? And how would you behave differently? And then I will also add on there, what kind of relationship would you like to have with them? They're not going to change. Not one bit. How are you going to, what are you going to do with the relationship? And if they never changed, are you going to change how you think about you? That's kind of what I mean. How would you feel? How would you think? How would you behave differently? Because you're up against something that's unchangeable or very possibly unchangeable. And I believe people can change, but I believe there are some people that the chances of changing are very, very small. But how would you think, feel, and behave differently? My parent is always going to think this way about me. Am I going to care about that? Am I going to live my life according to it? Isn't it rather ridiculous that they think that way? Why am I falling prey to their inner immaturity and personality disorder? Why am I doing that? That seems rather a foolish thing to do. So, if you're ready to finally break free from the grip of dysfunctional family dynamics and build a strong, confident sense of self, free from others' control, manipulation, or dysfunction, then join me in the free training that I have listed below. Absolutely free, 84 minutes. You'll learn a lot of stuff. Start building the self you were never allowed to have. Click the link below and get started. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to see new videos I publish every week. It's time to get your family out of you and finally live as your true, differentiated self. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day and be wise.
Con men do not give up their control. Doesn't matter how polite they seem, doesn't matter how much other people like them. Trained manipulators will fight to keep control. It's a huge sign that you can't trust the person. When it comes to detecting lies, you're looking for 3 different categories.
When you trust someone like your partner, it can actually bring you much closer together, but it can also open you up to being tricked or lied to, manipulated, or really leaving you totally soul-crushed and never trusting another human ever again. So Andrew, as the CIA spy, who is the master at infiltration and interrogation, what signs can we actually start to look out for to know that no, they are not to be trusted, and yes, they are lying to your face?
There's a framework at CIA that we learned.
For the main combo, you'll just need Diabelster Black Witch, or wanted to search it. Special Summon Diabelster. Activate to set Deception. Activate it. Tribute Diabelster to search Hallowed Azamina. Activate it and summon Murcielago by sending Deception to grave. which on summons searches for original sinful spoils. Activate Hallowed Azamina from grave and return Murcielago to extra deck to add Hallowed Azamina to hand. Activate it. Summon Sylvia by sending original sinful spoils to grave. You now have an Omni Negate. Activate original sinful spoils in grave to return Diabelster to deck to search for Snake Eye Ash. Normal summon it. Search Poplar, which special summons itself when searched. Search Divine Temple. Activate it. Place Snake Eyes Dispelster in back row. Activate Ash and send Snake Eyes Diabelster to grave to summon Oak. Oak Revive Ash. Link Poplar into Linkuribo. Poplar triggers to place Snake Eyes Diabelster in back row. Link Ash and Linkuribo into Closed Heaven. Then link it into Requiem. Activate Requiem to summon Engraver from deck. Activate Requiem Engrave to equip to Engraver. Activate Oak to send itself and Requiem for Flame Burge. Activate Snake Eyes Diabelster and place Oak in back row to summon itself. Link it and Engraver for sequence. Sequence Fusion summons Desiree by shuffling all 3 Light Fiends. Link Flame Burge and Sequence into Promethean Princess. Flame Burge revives too. Make sure Princess points to one of them. Don't mess your arrows. Activate Sequence Engrave to equip to Desiree. Princess revives Flame Burge. And activate Desiree to negate Princess. So now you're not fire locked anymore. Link into Masquerena using both your little snakes. Then link Masquerena and Princess into Appaloosa. And activate Flame Burge to get Masquerena in your back row. If you have wanted Engrave, you can also draw one, but you won't always have it during the end phase. Deception sets itself to give you follow-up. This end board has 2 Appaloosa negates. Sylvia Omni Negate, Desiree Unfield Omni Negate, Little Knight banished 2 separate times, which is summoned by Masquerena, and Promethean Princess destroy 1, for a total of 7 disruptions. Now I'll show you the Snake Eye Ash combo. Normal summon it, search Poplar, which special summons itself when searched. Search Divine Temple. Activate it. Place Snake Eyes Dispelster in back row. Activate Ash and send Snake Eyes Diabelster to grave to summon Oak. Oak Revive Ash. Link Poplar into Linkuribo. Poplar triggers to place Snake Eyes Diabelster in back row. Link Ash and Linkuribo into Closed Heaven. Then link it into Requiem. Activate Requiem to summon Engraver from deck. Activate Requiem Engrave to equip to Engraver. Activate Oak to send itself and Requiem for Flame Burge. Link both monsters into sequence. Flame Burge revives too. Sequence fuses into Lacrima using Closed Heaven and Requiem. Lacrima adds Engraver to hand. Engraver discard to search tracked. Track search Lurie, then discard it. Lurie special summons itself. Link Lurie and Oak into Masquerena. Engraver summons itself by shuffling Lurie. Track fuse into Desi Ray using all 3 Light Fiends. Don't activate Lacrima. Sequence equip onto Desi Ray. Link Masquerena and Ash into Princess. Princess revive Flame Burge. Flame Burge places Masquerena in back row. Desi Ray negates Princess so you're no longer fire locked. Snake Eyes Diabelster places Oak in back row to special summon itself. Link it and Princess into Appaloosa. End your turn. During your opponent's turn, summon Masquerena. This end board has 2 Appaloosa negates, Desi Ray on field Omni negate, Masquerena into Little Knight 4, 2 banishes, and Promethean Princess destroy 1, for a total of 6 disruptions. Engraver is also full combo, which goes into Snake Eyes, activated to search tracked. Track search Lurie and discard it. Lurie special summons itself. Link into Requiem. Requiem summons Engraver from deck. Engraver engraves summons itself by shuffling Lurie. Link both monsters into sequence. Sequence fuses both Requiem and Engraver into Lacrima. Lacrima revive Engraver. Make Beatrice. Activate it to dump Snake Eye Ash. Link Beatrice and sequence into Promethean Princess. Princess revives Ash. Ash search Poplar. Poplar special summons itself. Search Divine Temple. Activated for Snake Eyes Diabelster. Ash send itself and Diabelster for Oak. Oak revive Ash. Oak send itself and Princess for Flame Verge. Flame Burge plays Snake Eyes Diabelster in back row. Link Poplar and Flame Burge into Masquerena. Activate both. Poplar places Flame Burge in back row. and Flame Burge revives 2. Link Oak into Linkuribo. Activate Snake Eyes Diabellster to place Oak in back row and special summon itself. Link into a 4 material Apolissa. This end board has 4 Apolissa negates, 2 Little Knight banishes, and Promethean Princess pop for a total of 7 disruptions. And finally, Deception plus 2 discards is also full combo, but one of the discards has to be a monster. So activate Deception, tribute that monster to get Hallowed Azamina. Hallowed Azamina sends Deception to grave to summon Usilago. Activate it to search Wanted. Activate Hallowed Azamina to return Usilago to add itself to hand. Activate Hallowed Azamina, chain Wanted. Wanted searches Black Witch while Hallowed Azamina summons Sylvia by sending Wanted to grave. Now for the second discard, summon Black Witch by discarding anything. Set Original Sinful. Activate it, and send Black Witch to summon Ash. Search Poplar, which special summons itself when searched. Search Divine Temple. Activate it. Place Snake Eyes Dispelster in back row. Activate Ash and send Snake Eyes Diabellster to grave to summon Oak. Oak revive Ash. Link Poplar into Linkuribo. Poplar triggers to place Snake Eyes Diabellster in back row. Link Ash and Linkuribo into Closed Heaven. Then link it into Requiem. Activate Requiem to summon Engraver from deck. Activate Requiem Engrave to equip to Engraver. Activate Oak to send itself and Requiem for Flame Burge. Activate Snake Eyes Diabellster and place Oak in back row to summon itself. Link it and Engraver for sequence. Sequence Fusion summons Desiree by shuffling all 3 Light Fiends. Link Flame Burge and Sequence into Promethean Princess. Flame Burge revives 2. Princess revive Flame Burge. Activate Sequence Engrave to equip to Desiree, and activate Desiree to negate Princess. So now you're not fire locked anymore. Link into Masquerina using both your little snakes. Then link Masquerina and Princess into Apolissa. And activate Flame Burge to get Masquerina in your back row. If you have Wanted Engrave, you can also draw one, but you won't always have it. This end board has 2 Apolissa negates, Sylvia Omni negate, Desiree Unfield Omni negate, Little Knight banish 2 separate times, which is summoned by Masquerina, and Promethean Princess destroy 1, for a total of 7 disruptions. To counter this deck, always use Imperm and Valor on Snake Eye Ash, use Ash Blossom on Deception if they start the duel with Diabellster, Also, if they start with Fiend Smith, you have to stop that, so use Ash Blossom Untracked. And of course, as always, just use Droll and Lock Bird since it seems to counter every deck this format. Subscribe if this video helped. Here's my deck list. Thanks for watching. Make sure to also join my Discord to chat.
Summon the Magician's Souls. We're going to link off with their Kashtira, making the Little Knight on summon Yubel, so you could be top tier yourself. Now let's look on over to Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta real quick. Looking at the tier list, you can see that Yubel is a top 5 deck in the TCG and #1 in the OCG. So it's going to have a good future, as it's going to be played with Fiend Smith soon in the future. And even without Fiend Smith, doing very well in the TCG, looking like this. Now the deck right now does not have Varudras, so if you look at the TCG combos, they're going to mislead you with summoning this, as we do not have it. And for these combos, we're going to be using Cross Sheep, as you can see, very popular within TCG decks. Now without further ado, let's hop into combo number 1, which is going to be with 1 Nightmare Throne. And then we're going to also have after that 1 Samsara, and then after that 1 Dark Beckoning Beast, and then a super bonus combo with Dark Beckoning Beast, which you definitely want to be watching. So Nightmare Throne is a very good field spell, which will be activating to search our deck or destroy a 0 attack, 0 defense fiend. So we have Samsara D Lotus, which will normal summon to then tribute to summon from the deck a Spirit of Yubel. Now you could use Nightmare Throne instead of searching. You could destroy a Spirit of Yubel from the deck, which will trigger its effect to summon a Yubel onto the field, and then you could instantly make the fusion monster Phantom of Yubel, which will protect you from cards like Ash Blossom or a Maxi if for some reason they held on to it. Now you could summon this early within a duel by just using your hand. Return 2 Yubel cards, a Yubel plus a 0 attack / 0 defense fiend, and that's going to be a good way to play around Maxi if they do not Maxi in the draw phase. So you are either going to use the Nightmare Throne to start your combo or protect your combo. And this is why a lot of decks are teching in Nightmare Throne. There are Snake Eye decks playing it just for that, just to make a Phantom of Yubel. Now, enough yapping, we're going to Spirit of Yubel. Search or set a Nightmare Pain is going to be our play. You search it, you're more susceptible to a card like Droll and Lockbird, so we want to set up phase. So you are either going to use the Nightmare Throne to start your combo or protect of Yubel, which will protect you from cards like Ash Blossom or a Maxi if for some reason they held on to it. Now you could summon this early within a duel by just using your hand. Return 2 Yubel cards, or destroy a 0 attack, 0 defense fiend. So we have Samsara D Lotus, which will normal summon to then tribute to summon from the deck a Spirit of Yubel. Now Now you could use Nightmare Throne instead of searching. You could destroy a Spirit of Yubel from the deck, which will trigger its effect to summon a Yubel onto the field, and then you could instantly make the fusion monster Phantom of Yubel, which will protect you from cards like Ash Blossom or a Maxi if for some reason they held on to it. Now you could summon this early within a duel by just using your hand. Return 2 Yubel cards, a Yubel plus a 0 attack / 0 defense fiend, and that's going to be a good way to play around Maxi if they do not Maxi in the draw phase. So you are either going to use the Nightmare Throne to start your combo or protect your combo. And this is why a lot of decks are teching in Nightmare Throne. There are Snake Eye decks playing it just for that, just to make a Phantom of Yubel. Now, enough yapping, we're going to Spirit of Yubel. Search or set a Nightmare Pain is going to be our play. You search it, you're more susceptible to a card like Droll and Lockbird, so we want to set it onto the field ideally. And then flip up the Nightmare Pain, activate Nightmare Pain to non-target destroy a dark monster we control or in the hand, and we're going to be searching for a Grave Squirmer. You search it, you're more susceptible to a card like Droll and Lockbird, so we want to set it onto the field ideally. And then flip up the Nightmare Pain, activate Nightmare Pain to non-target destroy a dark monster we control or in the hand, and we're going to be searching for a Grave Squirmer. Now, as we were talking about, the Spirit of Yubel when destroyed will be activating, and then the other effect of Nightmare Throne, if a card we control is destroyed, if it leaves the field by card effect, that is, from either opponent making that happen, it's going to activate to summon a monster onto the field. First, it's going to add it to the hand, then summon it, and it has to be within 1 level of the monster that's destroyed. So we're going to grab the Yubel Terra Incarnate, which will be a level 11. The Spirit of Yubel is going to resolve, summoning a Yubel onto the field, and then we're going to link these 2 monsters off into a Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep is here. Now we're going to return from the graveyard or hand or field back in the deck to inherently special summon from the extra deck a Phantom of Yubel, which will be able to negate any monster effect. And you could summon more than 1 in 1 turn. It's not restricted in any way. That's going to trigger the Cross Sheep because we're summoning it to where it's pointing to reborn from the grave a level 4 or lower monster. We're going to summon a Samsara D Lotus. They're going to use the Squirmer, special summon. It has the additional effect of destroying a monster we control, but we don't want to do that. We're then going to link off into a Lord of Yama. Lord of Yama is going to be searching our deck for a Shavara, and yes, unfortunately, Yama is not optional in Yubel. It is ultra rare, so is the Shavara. Let's link off the entire field into an Apollo USA. Triple monster negate. It is ultra rare, so is the Shavara. Let's link off the entire field into an Apollo USA. Triple monster negate. Now going to use the other effect of Grave Squirmer to banish itself to reborn a monster from the grave. We're going to be reborning Spirit of Yubel. Now, Spirit of Yubel is not a hard once per turn on its destruction effect of summoning a Yubel onto the field. So we're going to be doing it again. Shavara, pop the Spirit of Yubel. Spirit of Yubel, trigger, summon a Yubel from the deck. Now we're going to link them off into an Unchained Soul of Rage. We're going to trigger the Shavara to set from the deck an Escape of the Unchained. Now, some people are instead playing a card like Chamber. If you use Chamber, you could use the Soul of Rage for a Link summon, getting it into the graveyard, then reborning. But I do think that Escape of the Unchained is going to be a lot more versatile and better overall. But the requirement to make Escape of the Unchained good is you can't use your effect of Yama in the grave to banish itself to reborn a monster from the grave on your own turn. We're going to want to use the Escape of the Unchained to pop the Rage, popping another card in the field, triggering the Yama during the opponent's turn. So you got to be careful about that. It's a 3-card combo here: Yama, Rage, and Escape. So let's keep on going. Now we're going to return from the graveyard into the deck. Yubel to summon a Phantom of Yubel. Now what do we have here? We have a lot here. We have a monster negate, monster negate, monster negate. That's triple disruption on Apollo, mate. We then have Phantom of Yubel, another monster negate. And then we have the Soul of Rage, which could link off an opponent's monster. You count that as a disruption, we're up to 5. We have Escape of the Unchained, which will pop a card in the field, so we're at 6. And then the Soul of Rage will be going into a card like Little Knight, which on summon will banish a card in the field or in the grave. We're now at 7 disruption. If they activate a monster effect, the Little Knight will then banish itself or any monster we control plus their monster. That's 8 disruptions I'm counting. If you want to count Soul of Rage being that many disruptions, linking off and then banishing with the Little Knight. Now, before activating the Soul of Rage, it's very important that you want to use your Escape of the Unchained first, or you're going to lose out on that disruption. So let's see a nice little example on how to use our disruptions. And also, the Nightmare Pain is forcing the opponent to attack into any of our Yubel monsters. So if our Soul of Rage is being threatened by a bigger monster, or the Apollo USA is getting nice and small from negating, they are fully protected as they go into the battle phase. They have to swing into Phantom of Yubel. We take no battle damage. We also reflect the battle damage, and we cannot be destroyed by battle. It's crazy. So let's keep on going. They're going to special summon. I'm going to take this opportunity to pop it. So we're taking out the Soul of Rage with the Escape. Now, Escape could pop anything. Any back row field spell monster, it's whatever you want, so be careful on how you use it, but you do want to use it before you activate the Rage effect. That will trigger the Lord of Yama. If any of our cards are destroyed by battle or card effect, we're going to be banishing it to reborn any fiend monster from the grave. So this could have instead reborned a Yubel monster, but we want the Soul of Rage effect. So Soul of Rage, come forth, back onto the field. And also, the Soul of Rage, when destroyed by battle or card effect, could add a fiend in the graveyard back to the hand. I'm going to grab D-Lotus for a follow-up play. And we got the Rage back here. They're going to special summon another Fenrir. They're going to activate the Mo Yi. Now we have triple monster negate on the Apollo, so it's a free negate. Let's negate that special summon token. And then we're going to add on top of that a Soul of Rage. Linking off within the main phase only, it has to target a special summon monster. Link it off into Little Knight's going to be our main play. Little Knight on summon, activate, banish a card on the field or in the graveyard. Either field, either graveyard. And we also have the secondary effect of banishing itself plus another card, which I know I already talked about, but there's a very cool play with the Nightmare Throne. If you're playing against a stun deck, like a runic deck, what you could do is you could use Little Knight to banish herself plus your own card like Phantom of Yubel, and it's going to come back during the end phase, but then the Nightmare Throne will trigger off of your own Little Knight to be able to special summon your banished cards back on the field. So if it's continually getting banished, that's a good little tip for a stun deck. They're going to special summon their Blue Eyes Alternative White Dragon. Now they're now special summoning a Dark Magician. We're going to use the Phantom of Yubel effect. And I keep on saying it negates, but it actually changes the effect. And what's really cool about changing the effect is if their monster is unaffected by effects, which means they cannot be negated by something like an Apollo USA, but with the Phantom of Yubel, you could still change their effect, which is kind of a pseudo negate that gets around them being unaffected from effects, which will be really important for when Tempai Dragon comes out in the future. So remember that. We're going to be popping a Yubel from our deck, which is what the effect changes to, as we then summon a Yubel onto the field. Now, Yubel, not the monster Yubel, the other ones, but regular Yubel plus Nightmare Pain is double damage. So you'll see that in a bit. They're going to activate the Mad Lad. We're going to be negating with Apollo USA. We have another negate. And the best counter to Little Knight is simply go to battle phase, swing over her. Or a tiny Apollo USA, swing over her. But what did we say earlier? You're in the battle phase, they have to attack. It's not optional, they have to do it. It's not a stupid computer here. They must declare the attack. Onto Yubel, burn for 3k and reflect 3k. 6,000 damage with Yubel. So if they have 4,000 damage on the field in attack position, which Link monsters must be in attack position, otherwise this monster could have been in defense, they would be inflicting 8,000 damage to themselves within the battle phase if you have a regular Yubel on the field. Now we're going to just be ending this combo as just, here's a big thing. You want to, with the Nightmare Pain, with multiple Yubels, including the Phantom of Yubel, swing into their monsters in your own battle phase, just like Makonko. So it's also another way to just finish up the duel. All right, let's hop into the next combo, which will be a single Samsara D-Lotus. And I do want to note that within our one throne combo, we relatively got out quickly our Phantom of Yubel, which helped protect us from hand traps and something like Nibiru. And then we also went into an Apollo USA. Now, there were moments where they could have Nibiru'd us, but it wouldn't have been that good, especially if we have more cards in our hand. Now, with the Samsara D Lotus, only this card, unfortunately, we do play into a Nibiru if we want to make an effective turn 1 field. So let's see what that looks like. Samsara D Lotus, Tribute Summon from the deck. Come forth, Spirit of Yubel, setting up our Nightmare Pain as we did in the first combo. We're going to Nightmare Pain, pop the Spirit of Yubel, grab a Grave Squirmer here, trigger the Spirit of Yubel, summon from the deck a Yubel, Grave Squirmer activates, summon onto the field, which activates on either player's turn, by the way. And then on the resolution, optionally destroy Yubel, summon a Terror Incarnate from the deck. Link this off into a Cross Sheep. Very popular in the TCG. We're now going to be returning 2 cards in the graveyard to summon our Phantom of Yubel to where the Cross Sheep's pointing to Reborn from the grave our Samsara D Lotus. And this is where we're getting rid of our Monster Negate. We're going into an Unchained Soul, where in the other combo, we were able to keep a Phantom of Yubel in the field and then go into an Apollo USA. So this is where we're kind of opened up here. But let's say they do activate Nibiru. They wipe out this field. We still have the Shavara in the hand, and we have Grave Squirmer in the graveyard to banish, reborn the Spirit of Yubel, and then we're going to make some great plays after that. Now, if they don't Nibiru here, which is their last opportunity to do so, we're going to make our Apollo USA. Now they cannot Nibiru. All right, Grave Squirmer, banish from the grave, come forth and summon a Spirit of Yubel. I think I was incorrectly saying there was a bigger opening to activate the Nibiru during our first play combo with the One Throne, but they actually had to Nibiru quite early, and it wouldn't be that effective, but it would stop us in a bit. Okay, so hopefully you didn't get confused there. We're going to pop the Spirit of Yubel with the Shavara, summon from the deck a Yubel. As the Spirit of Yubel is activatable more than once per turn, Shavara triggering, set from the deck and Escape of the Unchained, and then Yubel plus another monster return back into the deck to make our Phantom of Yubel. Now, if you want to see this fully play out, just watch the first combo. Again, I'm just going to highlight that you want to use Escape of the Unchained first, and then use your Soul of Rage afterward. So that's going to trigger the Yama, trigger the Rage, add a card in the graveyard back to our hand, reborn the Rage, link off of the special summon monster they control, wham bam, thank you ma'am. Let's hop into another play. Now this will be 1 Dark Beckoning Beast, which you definitely want to be playing in this deck. What's great about the Dark Beckoning Beast is it has incredible versatility with Yubel, which I'm going to talk into as we get to the cards. The Nightmare Throne is a card that could search the Dark Beckoning Beast if you wanted to. So if you had everything else and you want to normal summon the Dark Beckoning Beast, go ahead. So we're going to open up with just a Dark Beckoning Beast, normal summon. It's going to activate search in our deck for a card that mentions Yuria in it. And the opening of the Spirit Gates, what's cool about this, it could reborn any of your Yubel monsters besides the Terror Incarnate. It could reborn your Samsara D Lotus. So that is some insane synergy. We're going to now be activating the Spirit of the Gates, and let's say let's say we opened up with the opening of the gates, and then we normal summon a Dark Beckoning Beast, and then they negate it with an Impermanence. That would not be nice. Well, we want the other effect of Dark Beckoning Beast. Usually, we want to be able to normal summon our Samsara D Lotus in addition. So you can see right here, we're performing an additional normal summon through the continuous effect. But if that's negated through an Impermanence, we're then stuck with the Samsara D Lotus in the hand that we maybe wanted to normal summon, and the play around that would be, you're going to, with your normal summon Dark Beckoning, make an Almirage. Almirage will get the Dark Beckoning in the graveyard, which then makes the opening of the Spirit Gates a legal activation to discard the Samsara D Lotus to then reborn it onto the field and make plays from there. But we're not doing that play, but it's just giving you the idea of the synergy with the Spirit of the Gates. Making an Unchained Soul, Lord of Yama. We're going to activate search our deck for a Shavara. We're going to discard Shavara with the All right. So it's a hand like this why I'm happy I'm playing Shiyama.
The Grammys of 2025 was a night of many accomplishments and memories for the members of the music industry all across the world. However, one particular case stood out to members of the Caribbean music industry, and that's the fact that all of the nominees basically wasted their time and energy getting ready and taking a flight to the event.
This is the rarest honey in the world.
Since I've started playing chess in 2021, I've exclusively played on chess.com. But recently, I thought I would give the next biggest platform a try. So for the past 30 days, I've been playing all of my chess games on Lichess, including all of my studying. In today's video, not only are we going to explore my experience on Lichess, but we're going to answer the age-old question: chess.com or Lichess. We're going to split the video up into separate categories and look at specific features or lack thereof on each platform and rate them 1 through 10. At the end of the video, we'll tally them up and see which platform wins. Let me know in the comments below what you would rate each of these platforms. So let's get
Seems like yesterday when Kevin Samuels passed away, but in all actuality, it's been almost 3 years since the great legend Kevin Samuels passed away. And still, it doesn't feel like it's actually true. And of course, from time to time, we see mentions of his name, usually in good spirits and in good taste. But of course, there are people who are still jealous of Kevin Samuels and want to go around and spread lies. One of those people is Donovan Sharp. Another one of those people is Fresh and Fit. And really, it's only Myron of Fresh and Fit that still has some issue with Kevin Samuels. You see, Myron hated Kevin Samuels when he was living, going behind his back, talking about his sexuality, calling him the F-bomb. And for those of you who don't know, that was really a big part of the Abba and Preach beef. Kevin Samuels would also be insulted behind the scenes, just like Abba and Preach did after doing the collaboration. And that's what turned Kevin Samuels and Abba and Preach against Fresh and Fit.
Dinka Bowie won YCS Birmingham with his Fire King deck, I wasn't surprised. I mean, your big dog was already telling you Fire King was a crazy good deck and it was good against the meta. Y'all just wasn't listening. But it also got me to think, what are some other really strong Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that can go against some of the top decks in the game and win? Big dog, I'm the Cali Effect, your Yu-Gi-Oh professor now, and today we're going to be talking about some Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that can beat the meta. Also, there will be a test. I need you guys to be prepared for the pop quiz at the end of the video. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with y'all, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that's your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Today, students, we are going to be talking about Update Monday, a particular time where I trick you into thinking that this was a Yu-Gi-Oh video, but in overall, I snuck in a way to make you a better person above all else. And I said for the rest of this month, I will be talking about Black History Month because it seems nowhere that you go, they mention Black History Month. Another one of my favorite people in history was Nat Turner. Nat Turner also had that dog in him. This man was a carpenter and a preacher, and he even led a 4-day rebellion. A lot of people think that enslaved people were just happy being slaves, but that was the furthest thing from the truth. Just because these people were torn from their homeland and shipped across the world thousands of miles apart didn't mean that they still didn't have that dog in them and they didn't fight, run the fisticuffs. You see, Nat Turner to me always embodied the story of the underdog, that no matter the circumstances, it is still correct to fight, and even if you don't win, you at least know that you did the right thing. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and stop right here before I get more into the story because it really does make me angry about what happens next, but I strongly urge you guys to do some research on what these weirdos were doing back in the day. I'll even drop a subtle hint throughout this video, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. We're going to embody the underdog. While we may not always win the game, these particular Yu-Gi-Oh strategies are going to be built to beat some of the best decks in the game. We've seen both YCS Birmingham and YCS Orlando, as well as a plethora of regional events that have happened over the last few weeks. And for today's class, I've compiled a few strategies that actually have something going against some of the top decks. So let's go ahead and start off with the first one. When it comes to stopping one of the best decks in the entire game, Rizio, you're going to need a few tricks up your sleeve. Currently, right now, the strongest version of Ryzeo is Ryzeo Fiendsmith, which can be really tricky to stop with hand traps. Stopping one part of Ryzeo means that they can go full Fiendsmith combo and vice versa, and sometimes it doesn't matter how many hand traps you throw at them, they'll do whatever they want anyways. But what players have been doing is taking an entirely different approach to being able to beat Ryzeo. Instead of playing a ton of hand traps in hopes of slowing them down, what players have been doing is playing board breakers. And one of the best decks in the game to play board breakers is actually White Forest. That's right, you Slifer slackers, White Forest is actually really good right now. Basically, how the White Forest monsters work is that they allow you to be able to discard spell and trap cards from your hand to be able to gain their effects. It means that even when you go first, cards like Metaltronus and Ultimate Slayer, which are really good against Ryzeo when you're going second, aren't so good when going first, don't really matter. You can send them to the graveyard to be able to activate your White Forest effects. And the deck is centered around being able to use your lower level White Forest monsters like LZ and Azamina LZ to be able to summon themselves, and your higher level White Forest monsters like Rusia and Sylvia as the tuner materials. If you're going against Ryzeo, you can completely shut them down from ever touching their Exceed summon by synchro summoning into Severa Wolf Tamer of the White Forest to be able to Book of Eclipse their monsters. And if you're ever going second, you can rely more on that board breaker approach, using those important cards to be able to disrupt their board, and then following up by using your White Forest cards with the dead ones or some of your other White Forest cards because they reset themselves back to the side of the field. White Forest has also been sneakily topping quite the few events. Its highest placing was last week at YCS Birmingham and the YCS Remote Duel Latin America, so it is a deck that is low-key tried and true and successful at the most competitive events. It also is the best deck to play the Fiendsmith and the Azamina engine. What I've been personally testing out with White Forest for so long is the Black Goat Laughs. I think the Black Goat Laughs is one of the strongest cards in the game because it prevents Ryzeo Detonator from ever getting its effects off in the first place. I usually use it in a deck that pairs well with Foolish Burial Goods, but just discarding it for your Azamina effects has never felt so good. I think that White Forest is 1000% one of those powerful Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that can compete, so if you're looking for a deck that is really good with board breakers, you should potentially give this one a try. Another great way to be able to combat Ryzeo is Memento. Now, Memento has been pretty much everywhere on my radar this format. I once thought it was going to be one of the best decks in the game, baby. And then it disappointed me at YCS Orlando. I then thought that the meme team was dead. The dream is over. And it surprised me in YCS Birmingham by securing more tops than almost any other deck. On top of that, the memes didn't just get top 64, they actually made it to top 16 inside of a 2,200 man tournament. That means a lot for a Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that was thought as an afterthought since YCS Orlando. The Bone Daddies can also take a board breaker style approach against Ryzeo. Because the deck isn't heavy on extra deck, you can play those cards like Ultimate Slayer and Metaltronus inside of the main deck, which gives you a way easier time with combating that deck, but there's a little bit more. The meme team has a monster named Memento Goblin, which may not seem like much, but it's actually huge. It means that Goblin Biker Grand Diddy Breakout can special summon Meme Goblin to your side of the field, but it also gives you access to a bigger Goblin engine. Goblin Biker Grand Entrance can add Memento Goblin from your deck to your hand, but you can also detach a material from one of your opponent's Ryzeo monsters to special summon it. This means that the Memento matchup naturally has ways to detach materials from Ryzeo monsters before it gets its main combo line going. It's one of the more convenient and secret things that this deck has going for itself that makes it a perennial contender. And it's also another one of the biggest reasons why I should have never gave up on the meme team. But let's not act like we haven't forgot about the elephant in the room, class. And speaking of elephant in the room, of course, like usual, I'll be uploading personal deck lists of these particular strategies on my Patreon as a special thank you for helping me pay my editors. They ate him. The elephant in the room is that Ryzeo isn't the only deck that we need to worry about. Malice is a crazy, strong Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that can banish multiple monsters in the graveyard with Bestials if not get its own combo going. It can also take advantage of that Nightmare Griffin lock, but another wrinkle that this deck can add is Mech Knight Crusadia Avramax, which is really hard to deal with from time to time. So what are some strategies that we could be using to be able to pound this deck's face in? And it's simple. Red Dragon Archfiend, the Master of Faster, the Gank of Disaster, Black Atlas. I'll stop coping now. You see, from what I realized, Malice doesn't do really well against a strategy that's either A, not as reliant on the monsters in the graveyard, or B, can play the Dominus cards, and that has actually given me 2 more decks. I personally think that Primite is more than just Primite Blue Eyes. Primite may be one of the more underexplored engines that we haven't looked into in depth, but it has some really good cards to match up against Malice well. Take, for example, one of Malice's most feared cards is GWC-06. This card is what holds Malice together. It gives them their interruption on your turn. Most of the time it's used to be able to summon Whitebinder, which can banish 3 cards from either graveyard, tons of disruption, but also triggers the effect of Malice P White Rabbit to be able to get their MTP-07, which means that you're in for a lot of trouble. So 2 things here. Not only is the Primite engine more than likely unaffected by the Nightmare Griffin lock, seeing that it is a normal based Yu-Gi-Oh monster deck, Primite Drill Beam is one of the very few cards that can instantly check GW06 and not give them anything that they want for it. Now, Drill Beam does require you to reveal a Primite monster or a normal monster in your hand, but oftentimes if you're playing a Primite-based Yu-Gi-Oh deck, that shouldn't be too hard to do. What I'm suggesting is that we take Primite to the next level and we play something like Primite Umi. Okay, not Primite Umi, but Primite Phantasm. The Phantasm cards are a deck that only consists of a few normal monsters inside of the deck, and if you play your cards right, you can gain the full effects of Phantasm Spiral Power and Spiral Battle, allowing you to be able to destroy and negate your opponent's cards, and these cards can be activated from the hand. And the best thing about this is, like I said before, one of the biggest counters to Malice is Dominus Impulse. This card prevents special summoning, which can be really good when they're trying to use cards like GW06 or a Malice monster that's trying to bring itself back from banishment. I think the Dominus cards are going to be one of the keys to be able to beating and stopping Malice, especially the non-reliance on monster effects. But that got me thinking, there's another Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that pretty much does the same thing, and this one's just a little bit more proven. Labyrinth is easily one of my favorite decks of all time. It's not because of the looks, the gimmicks, or aesthetics, it's simply because it's a fiend strategy. I know that they don't look like fiends, but I'm still a fiend connoisseur. And Labyrinth just so happens to play one of Malice's biggest weaknesses. It doesn't interact with it monster per monster. What it does is that it takes its trap cards and pits them against your monsters. And what makes it even a based Yu-Gi-Oh deck, that shouldn't be too hard to do. What I'm suggesting is that we take Primite to the next level and we play something like Primite Umi. Okay, not Primite Umi, but Primite Phantasm. The Phantasm cards are a deck that only consists of a few normal monsters inside of the deck, and if you play your cards right, you can gain the full effects of Phantasm Spiral Power and Spiral Battle, allowing you to be able to destroy.
Some people see the world in a way that's different from most. They pick up on invisible patterns, feel the energy around them, and understand intentions even before they're expressed. If you've ever felt disconnected from others because your mind seems to operate on another level, you might be an intuitive introvert, a rare and complex personality. But what does this really mean? Why do these people have such a hard time expressing themselves? Why do they seem to be always one step ahead, yet feel like no one truly understands them? In this video, you'll discover the clear signs that you might be an intuitive introvert and, more importantly, how to turn this ability into a true advantage in your life. Carl Jung described the intuitive introvert as someone deeply connected to the unconscious, capable of perceiving hidden patterns and predicting trends before they manifest in reality. This sensitivity can be a gift, allowing an expanded perception of reality, but it can also be a challenge when the world around seems to be out of sync with this way of seeing things. The intuitive introvert doesn't see the world the way most people do. While others absorb reality in a direct and objective manner, they perceive invisible nuances and catch patterns before they even form. More than just hearing words, they understand the intentions behind them. This heightened sensitivity makes their perceptions vast and difficult to share. Imagine someone who, upon entering a room, feels the tension before any disagreement even occurs. Or someone who predicts the outcome of a conversation before anyone mentions the subject. They process everything in deep layers, and often, their mind is light years ahead of the present moment. But this unique perception of the world can become a challenge when it's time to express it. How can you translate into words something that comes as a complete picture, a web of invisible connections to others? Intuition operates in multiple layers, while language follows a linear path. That's why they might hesitate or seem distant in trivial conversations. Their mind has already explored countless possibilities before they've even formulated a response. And when they try to explain, the words seem insufficient. If they receive a confused look or a wow that's far out, they realize that what made sense in their mind couldn't be translated to the outside world. And it's precisely this difference that separates them from most people. While others go along with the flow of social interactions effortlessly, the intuitive introvert feels like a foreigner trying to translate a language that has no equivalent in their native tongue. They don't fit easily into everyday conversations because they're more interested in what's beyond the obvious. Their attention isn't just on the spoken word, but on the tone, the look, the intention behind it. However, this sharp perception, which sometimes isolates them, is the same that allows them to see hidden patterns and innovative solutions to problems that no one else has even identified. But there's one detail that makes all the difference. This ability isn't limited to their own inner world. The intuitive introvert has a peculiar way of perceiving people. They don't need many words to understand someone because they pick up on information that goes beyond what is said. Small gestures, subtle changes in tone of voice, word choice, and even silence tell them much more than they do for most people. That's why, often, they know when someone isn't doing well even before the person admits it. Have you ever had someone ask you, "How did you know that?"
When Dinko Bowie won YCS Birmingham with his Fire King deck, I wasn't surprised. I mean, your big dog was already telling you Fire King was a crazy good deck, and there is some funny Yu-Gi-Oh drama that you need to know about. Today, big dog, we're going to be talking about a fairly controversial topic, and I want you guys to weigh in your opinions down below in the comment section. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with ya, big dog? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the ruin. I know y'all said it with me in your head, so that's the best thing. Before we get into this video, big dogs, I just have one thing to say. We did something really, really special. 200,000 subscribers! Let's go! This is the very first time that I was actually able to make a video after the 200,000 subscribers, and I have to say thank you, thank you, thank you. All praise be to Allah. Thank my wife, my kids, my family members, Top Deck TJ, everybody that has helped me get there. Thank my editors, that $10. I hope you guys know that it was worth it. My script writers, everybody that has put us in this position, and more importantly, thank you guys. So I want to jump into this video and start off by saying this entire argument, which one's better, Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh, which one's harder, is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It reminds me of, you know, when I'm teaching and the kids are like, "Oh, I had it harder where I grew up. They shoot where I live. Where I'm from, it's tough." It literally makes no sense. You guys are doing the exact same thing. The purpose of card games is supposed to be easy to learn, exciting to play, and hard to master. I think both Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh have their nuances, but let's go ahead and break it down because there are some things that I think are vastly different and some things that we can debate about. But first, of course, you guys already know, I want you guys to post down below in the comment section. And of course, chat down here is going to be telling us which one is better. It's non-biased, I promise. And we're going to be talking about this drama as it unfolds. Yu-Gi-Oh is better. There's no debate. Pokemon doesn't even have combos. Keck W. I thought Pokemon is an e-girl. Look, man, see? Non-biased. These are people that like both Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And they're telling us which game is better. Unfortunately, the stats don't agree. Statistically, Pokemon is the better card game. And hear me out. It's literally just stats. There are more people that play Pokemon than Yu-Gi-Oh! There are more people that know a Pokemon than Yu-Gi-Oh! There are more people statistically on the outer surface that enjoy Pokemon than Yu-Gi-Oh! But the good thing about this is, since we're talking about in more of a competitive circuit, we can kind of just break that barrier. Just because there are more people that know of Pokemon and there are more people that play Pokemon doesn't mean that there's like more die-hard core fans of the franchise when it comes to the card game. And that's what matters with this particular argument. So from what I ascertained, this whole drama started when a Pokemon content creator named PokeDuels claimed that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was incredibly easy. His biggest argument was, from his perspective, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has spreadsheets that allow players to understand combos. And I'm paraphrasing here, but from what I'm getting, he says that from that perspective, all you have to do is memorize a combo and you're good. I want to know, what do you guys think about that? Because to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is simplified in spreadsheet form, meaning that you can play the entire combo without even thinking. All you have to do is just follow some steps. He's not wrong or right. Interruption is a mechanic Pokemon doesn't have. That's a good one. I wish I had the mental capacity to remember a spreadsheet. Holy. From my perspective, the spreadsheet argument is flawed. Yes, you technically can't make spreadsheets for Pokemon, and I'll talk about that in a second. But the biggest reason why the spreadsheets argument in Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't work is because these spreadsheets are designed to teach you how to play the deck. You guys got to think about it. We technically have to have books of combos and demonstrations just to learn how to properly play our deck. And even still with that, it doesn't teach us how to play the deck when the opponent has interaction. In Pokemon, there's not really a such thing as you playing a card and then your opponent immediately responding to it. Or you're going through a particular combo and there is a card to prevent you from finishing off your combo. Also, another thing that Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have is that you have to build your board with the mind of what your opponent is playing. Sometimes you have to play under Nibiru because you think your opponent may have it. And sometimes you may have to play a certain way to be able to combat a certain deck, which shows that there is very much skill inside of not only deck building, but board making. Board making sounds kind of illegal, like you're gonna have like a little child after it. In actuality, I think a lot of you guys would prefer Pokemon over Yu-Gi-Oh! If you gave it a try. If anybody tells me that they prefer Edison format over modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, well, that's pretty much closer to akin to what Pokemon is. You almost go uninterrupted on your opening phases of the game building your board, and then once you establish a game presence, that's when you guys start to actually do battle. Kind of reminds you of some of the older formats in Yu-Gi-Oh! You had a friend say you can summon multiple monsters on the same turn, yet this game is dumb. The nuance between Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Is completely different, and I think that's something to love about both of the games. It's really hard to compare the two when it comes to style and competitiveness, but one thing we can say is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Are some of the most competitive players in the entire world. And if you can learn Yu-Gi-Oh!, it's going to be incredibly easy for you to learn almost any other card game in the entire world. Let's face it, Pokemon, Lorcana, and a host of other games are pretty close to Magic the Gathering. I actually learned how to play Magic the Gathering a long time ago, and every time I sit down and learn a new game, it always revolves around Magic the Gathering. You need resources to be able to do things, and then you have an infinite supply of something. Granted, that could be almost any card game, but these are always like land or energy or ink based, so that's where I get those particular games. Where Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a completely different dynamic. You actually need to learn so many things. That doesn't necessarily make one harder than the other. If anything, it just makes Pokemon the smarter company and Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of stupid for going their own way. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is chess. Every move is so critical, even the small ones. And that brings the next thing. One thing that I do want to point out is that in both of these card games, there are helmet decks. We can't say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Is chess when everyone complains about the meta decks being so easy to play. We also can't say it's chess when people are still summoning Fossil Dino Pachycephalo, activating runic cards, and summoning Fluunderreese monsters. The same thing can be said for Pokemon. In my time of playing it, there was a deck I remember, the Pokemon players don't come after me, called Iron Thorns, and it's probably the closest you can get to Fossil Dino Pachycephalo. Actually, know exactly who to call. TJ through and through is the same player as he is in Yu-Gi-Oh! As Pokemon. We'll just ask him what decks does he play, and he will tell you the most helmet decks in Pokemon. Yo, TJ! TJ,
What's up?
what Pokemon decks do you play?
I play the good ones.
Which one are those?
I play Goldingo at EX and Charizard EX.
No, you don't. You play other decks too.
No, I do be playing Flygon.
Yeah, no, what's that deck you were talking to? The toxic deck, the one that you like the most?
Which one? There was Flygon EX where I made it to where my opponent couldn't attack me and all their Pokemon were poisoned, or Slowking where I made my Slowking invincible.
Thank you, TJ. You just proved my point.
Or how about the Goldingo EX that just says I'll do 900 damage for free?
Okay, Thomas, we get it. You like Pokemon.
Okay, but you still haven't heard me out yet. Like, you know, there's that one Rotom deck that uses Pokemon tools for all its damage. It could do like 900 damage.
All right, we know you love Gengar. We know you're missing Lapras.
Hey, don't give away them secrets. Those are in the vault, okay?
And you guys won't believe it, guys. TJ actually does well in Pokemon events. It's not to say that Pokemon is an easier game, but when you have a lot of players that are more casual than your average Yu-Gi-Oh player, then yes, it could be easier. I think what a lot of people experience is that when they pick up this card game, they realize that it's a little bit more lax than Yu-Gi-Oh! So they think because they're at the somewhere beginning or in the middle of the ceiling, they think that this is it. But if you go to like a Pokemon Regionals and you're in the top tables towards the end of the rounds, you'll start to see that it's a little bit different. It's obviously a lot stronger and the competition is harder. To be honest, I think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Would aspire to have a situation like Pokemon, something that we can all jump into and still have fun, competitive casual formats like Pokemon seems to have or feels to have from the tournaments that I've watched, but still have those high levels of play. On that particular comment that we talked about that Pokeduels made, Galzo challenged Pokeduels to an $1,000 Yu-Gi-Oh match. That's right, guys. The loser gotta cough up 1,000 buckaroos, and he lost. Imagine, guys, a Pokemon TCG player telling you that your game is easy, then you challenging him and you lose. Galzo's no bum, guys. He is I believe he's a national champion. He's one of the better players in Yu-Gi-Oh! And the drama that I'm hearing behind this is that he challenged old boy to a duel, and this Pokeduels channel is ran by multiple people.